I'd love to hear about your experiences this week. If anybody would like to share, what did you notice, particularly around tenderness and speaking, but any other topic that we've covered in these weeks is also very welcome. So, Jennifer.
Yes. When you were just talking about suffering, you answered my question with regard to saying oftentimes it's the ego that is involved and needs to fix. And I recognize that, but I'm going to go back. We weren't in town last week, so I missed last week. Well, Nick didn't, but I did. But anyway, I was with my daughter who's 21, and it's constant suffering. And I don't know if it's because
For you?
Yeah, well, really for her, but for me to watch.
Yeah.
But she's suffering. She's suffering so much in that she can't calm herself down to have a conversation or to know what she wants or to like the next thing or the next anxiety thing in school or the next, it's just constant. And, you know, as a mother, it's painful to watch.
Yeah.
And it's,
you want her to be,
like comfortable.
Flourishing.
And again, I don't know if it's just because I'm her mom and she can let down when she's around me, and it's easier.
I think that's usually part of it. The mother gets the brunt of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just, it's so painful because I know how life can be enjoyable, and it's hard not to see her be able to do that and to suffer. And I just wonder, other than just recognizing this is suffering, what does one do?
What do you do? So where are you in your body? When you're listening to her, that would be a place to begin, is how to stay in your body. Because what would be most helpful for her is for your presence to be grounded.
Right.
And for you to be okay with her suffering. And by okay with it, I mean, your mother, you're going to like, oh, honey. So I don't mean just be neutral, obviously. But it's like, if you could find the place of okayness as she's struggling, where would that be and where would it be embodied?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, usually it's in my neck and my jaw and all that. And then if I let down, I can just be present.
Yeah.
It still doesn't seem to, I mean, I don't know.
So can you let down? I mean, is that...
Yeah, I can.
Just having that part of your, like, intention is huge.
I agree. And I
to
can.
Be grounded, to be just present.
You know, and I haven't been good at it in the past, but I do think I did a really nice job of it last week because she kind of came around to being able to enjoy dinner.
Yeah. It's like we can regulate each other by our presence.
It's so painful.
It's astonishing, but it's a power that we have. It's a superpower that human beings have to be able to regulate each other with presence.
But when it's so constant and it's your child and you're around it, and if you're not trying to solve something, are you just acknowledging it and grounding yourself and letting them have their own suffering?
And you know, say tender things to her. Let it come. Last week was about speaking. So if you didn't get
I need to listen to that.
To listen to it, I would suggest you listen to it because it's really relevant here. About letting the tenderness come into your voice and speaking from the tenderness to her.
Okay.
You know, which is there. You don't want her to be suffering. And that can come through your tone. The other thing that is really helpful when you're a parent is to stay in a place of confidence about your child, that they have what it takes to figure it out.
Yeah.
even, so I know that it can be wobbly
Yeah.
at times. Uh, but that's part of what they need to ground themselves through you.
Yeah.
That's part of how we kind of regulate each other, is that sort of like confidence that they have everything they need inside of them to figure out in time how to be in this world.
Yeah.
And when they sense that in us, they start to sense it more in themselves. And so much of the suffering of young people and old people, for that matter, all ages, is this belief that gets in there like, I don't have what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's challenged at every stage of life. When you go to college, there's that kind of fear like, oh, I don't have what it takes, not just academically, but socially. And then you leave college and you have to get a job. And then it's this, maybe I don't have what it takes. And then, you get married and it's like, oh, I don't know if I have what it takes. Oh, then you have a child. It's like, oh my God, I don't think I know what I have what it takes.
Definitely don't
And
know.
then, and then you get sick and you have to, deal with some sort of health and you don't know if you have what it takes. And life keeps going on and then aging starts. And so there's this thing, and the thing we do for each other is, it's something I think that friends do really quite naturally for each other, better than parents do naturally, which is they stand in this place of witnessing love, and they have confidence in you. Friends don't often feel like they have to step in and rescue you. They don't often feel like they've got to fix the problem. Some do. Some think they've got to fix the problem. Sometimes you have to go, that isn't actually what I need. But, there's this way that we do that pretty instinctively, but things get a little wackier in these closer kinds of more intimate relationships of, marriage and parental child kind of relationships. The boundaries get squishier, and it's hard. It's hard to find that place where I can be just trusting of the other person's being, that they do have what it takes. And so the body is really helpful, like to notice your body when you're with somebody who's suffering. Notice your feet on the ground, wherever they are, your seat on the chair. Notice your breath. Take a moment to inhabit your body, because the tendency is to like kind of go like this, right? You get off balance because you feel like, oh, she needs me. I don't know what to do. Well, the best thing perhaps is to stay here and just to kind of be present and to witness, And it's hard. There's painful things to witness when you're a parent. And sometimes, you have to debrief. That's where a spouse is really handy, is to debrief after kind of like a download of your child's suffering,
Mm-hmm.
where there's somebody else, and occasionally I might need to cry with my spouse, or she might need to cry with me, or we cry together over some heartbreaking aspect of what we've heard our child say. And, it's even happened with them, and there's an appropriate way to do that. But, and sometimes it's just staying grounded with them and just giving empathy.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Try to simplify the job. It's such a complicated job. It's such a complicated situation. And you think you get it down at a certain age, and then it shifts and it's a different thing. every age it's a different thing, and you feel like you start over. So, all right, who else would like to share about what's going on, what they dealt with this week?
Hi.
Anna.
Hi. That whole talk and that whole dialogue was so helpful to me in what I'm going through with my family. I've sort of alluded to it, I guess, but
Yeah, there's some chaos.
I should be pretty clear. So my younger child is on the autism spectrum, and starting in about January when I was on retreat, being that I'm the grounding, co-regulating parent, he spiraled into what we now know is autism burnouts, where you just cannot function. Like, he's so sensitive, as you're talking about, like, oh, the dukkha of like being hungry. Each one of those things is like a wallop to his system. So he's just like, the only thing that feels safe right now is watching YouTube all day. No self-care, and life is not progressing. So there's no cure other than to sit there for a year and let the child be on the couch and trust that they're going to come back to life and be ready to learn again and return to school. So of course there's enormous suffering as a parent because there's nothing you can do. You just have to wait it out. So I don't know what my question is really, other than to share that, like, this is the practice that I've been looking for. Just how do you just go like, okay, just swallow down all the expectations that you had for what the child would be doing at this time in their life and trust that their body will know how to bounce back from this.
Thank you. You don't need a question. Just for us to hear your experience and to feel it with you is all.
I did try the tenderness. I remembered, like, the one day after the class, maybe that night I remembered, and sort of when he goes through like these horrific temper tantrums and meltdowns multiple times per day, and there's nothing you can do or really say to stop them, but you can go like, I still love you even though you're saying that to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can see you're really suffering. This is really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, your grounding, your calm is really helpful.
Yeah.
In loving presence. So best to you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. All right. Who else would like to check in? Lynn.
Well, that resonated, the wonderful talk about grounding to listen. And I know that when I have suffering and I am just with a friend who's particularly skilled at that, you just walk into the presence of a person like that and you just feel better because that is being emanated, and then also when my children were young, that feeling for me of just having faith in them whenever I was like suffering for them, just looking at them and thinking, I really have faith in this being, that was super helpful. But I was going to say that in the last weeks, I've really gotten a lot more in the practice of daily meditation. And I belong to a Thich Nhat Hanh Sangha, and I go to this class and I try to meditate every day. And I used to, every single time I felt a little uncentered, I would cue up your meditation and really start with the body scan. And it is really helpful, and I can do it without a recording as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always like my go-to. And now I'm exploring a lot more of really being in silence. And when we were at the January retreat, the way you talked about belly breathing and the belly was super helpful to me. I know I commented on it at the retreat. And just inviting the way that you're always talking about, inviting the energy out of the head and down into the body. I'm just finding the more organic messaging of that for myself, and just inviting deeper and deeper and deeper down into stillness, and just thinking of water and settling, and just, I might use just any one word, but Just I don't know if I don't know why. Maybe it's just the length of practice, but finding more time when I'm really just feeling like, wow, I'm emptying, I'm going to stillness. And then other times I feel totally vulnerable. This is suffering.
Yeah.
Just the expansion of that space. And I just have been appreciating how meditation and your class and other things have brought that to me. That's it.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, and I'm happy. I'm happy that you're settling into it, and that's really great. I don't know why when you're first talking, I'll just share this image of what it's like to come into someone's presence who's just present, and how regulating that is. I remember the feeling I've had being around horses. I don't know if you've been around horses, any of you have been around horses, but there's a funny way that you're standing next to one of them. It feels like they're just scanning you, you know? Like you've stepped into their sensory field and they are just like taking you in. There's no judgment in that. There's no, you know, and it's a profound feeling. And so that's a little bit about, a little bit about what it's like to, be in the presence of someone who's just present. It might also be kind of an interesting image for you to think about, like coming down from the head into the heart and into the belly, like that sort of horse consciousness as that calm, that open calmness. Just thought I'd offer that since it popped into my head from somewhere. So we're coming up on our time here, so I think maybe I'll just stop here.